Monday it's Cluster Fun. I'm Danny Cunningham, making his triumphant return to Cluster Fun. He's been gone for about 2 months as Matthew Coller. Welcome back.
I'm back. What is up?
Not much. Football.
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 Football. Starts this week. Training camp. Vikings rookies report today, right?
Football.
Shouldn't you be there?
No, not with them reporting. There's no reason to be there.
I thought you just kind of had a tent outside the facility and never left.
We used to do that sort of thing. Well, not the tent outside the facility, but in Mankato, you would go and you would wait for them to show up and then talk with them. And you'll see that on social media with different beat reporters waiting for wherever they show up to. But now that it's at their home facility, there's no real necessity to go out there and see people walking into the facility, which they just will do all the time anyway.
I want video of you walking into the facility the first time. I want someone to act, maybe Seth can do this.
Okay.
Act like the paparazzi where you're walking into the first day of training camp.
I know.
That's
no questions. Purple
photos,
Daily host
please.
here. It's exciting, to get the rookies on the field for the first couple of days. Then the veterans show up on Friday. And with this year's rookie class, I mean, there's a lot of interesting storylines here that Garrett Bradbury and Irv Smith especially are going to be under a microscope.
Yeah.
You don't draft these guys to be good in 2022. They drafted them to step in and be really good right now. So in terms of your camp storylines, a lot of times when the rookies show up, it's like, oh, well, okay, all right, it's the rookies, and we'll see if anybody sort of rises to the top the way that Stephon Diggs couple of years ago did. But your expectations for the rookies are not always super high when you're on a winning team. It's like, oh, maybe Mike Hughes will play some type of role, was last year. But now you expect not only your first round pick to be good right away, but your second round pick as well. So the rookies getting out there will be very interesting. And then we see if anybody else emerges. And when it gets to Friday, then it is completely on. And then when the pads come on,
when the pads start popping.
Then it's real.
When the pads start popping, the football is real, and there's no better time in Matthew Coller's year, right?
Yeah.
Do you still get genuinely excited for training camp, or are you at the point in your life where you're kind of dreading these long days and just ready for the season to actually get here?
No, I'm always excited to get out there because we've been working with the same sort of set of information for a really long time for anything you write in the off season. It's like, well, Zimmer said this months ago, or this happened months ago. This happened last season, which was now really long time ago. And we're still looking back and referencing those things. And when I'm writing or talking, we're kind of still looking at that. But now we get a new set of information. We get practices every day that we get to stand outside there and watch whole practices, which is always awesome to me. To just
make sure you have sunscreen, please.
I know, yes, it's very important. You can see the farmer's tan.
Oh my goodness,
it's
you are
significant.
You are rather pale up in your sleeves.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Underneath the sleeves, it's pretty serious. But to be able to see up close how they install the offense and how the defense looks since they've been together for a really long time, and to see just the sheer talent level of some of the players. When you see Stephon Diggs running routes and you're right there on the sideline and you can see it up close, you really get the full understanding of how incredibly detailed and just terrific he is at that. So there are things that go on in the practices that just never get tired to me. I'm excited about it. And plus this year too is another year where the Vikings are kind of in the spotlight of the NFL as a team that's supposed to be in win now mode, Super Bowl mode potentially, and going all in with Kirk Cousins. It makes them one of the more fascinating teams in the league. If this was a team where we thought, oh well, if they win 6 or 7 games, it's all right, then I probably wouldn't have the same level of being amped up.
I don't know. It's still football.
It's still football. It's still football. So there's no way I would be unhappy about it.
Sure.
But when you're talking about a season that has so much pressure involved on Mike Zimmer and in the front office and Kirk Cousins, if they're going to extend Kirk Cousins long term, he's got to have a great season. Gary Kubiak is here to put in a new offense. Laquan Treadwell is on year number 4 of trying to prove that he can actually be a
wide
decent
receiver
receiver.
number 3.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so they're just like all these different storylines that are going on, and anytime you have in camp a team putting in a new offense, like that's just inherently interesting. So I am really jacked about it.
I know what we're obviously all saying on day one. There's a lot of questions on Kirk Cousins, a lot of questions on just what this organization is going to look like in the future in general. what are we going to be saying at the end of the season?
Well, what I like about this year from a journalistic perspective is that there is a very wide range of things that we could be saying. I mean, if things go right, and let's say they get back to the NFC Championship, you're talking about Kirk Cousins is probably your quarterback here for the next 5 to 7 years, if not longer, with how long quarterbacks play now.
It's a long time to have Kirk Cousins around.
I know, but that's if they go 12-4 and they reach the NFC Championship, which is totally plausible when you have a great defense and elite wide receivers and a talented running back and improved line. If they are as good as they possibly could be, if everything clicks into place the way it did 2 years ago, then you're talking about a legitimate contender, and you're talking about having this quarterback here for a very long time. And Mike Zimmer, if he reaches another NFC Championship, it's almost like lifetime contract for him. Whenever he decides to hang it up, will be in Minnesota if he does that again or goes to the Super Bowl. But on the other side of that, a 7-9 season, and we're talking about a completely different look this time next year. Next year, we could be talking about a new coach putting in whatever his offense or defense is. One of Sean McVay's friends, probably, as the new head coach.
Yeah, I don't see how you could go in a direction that doesn't involve Sean McVay.
And we could be also talking about, think about this, if things go the same way they did last year with Kirk Cousins, especially in big games and things like that, we could be talking about which quarterback they drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that much of a wide variation. And my prediction on this season, from the minute the schedule came out and it hasn't changed, has been that they'll be 10-6, win a playoff game, and that will probably be it for this team. I'm not sure that they can play on the same level as someone like New Orleans if Drew Brees is still as good as he is. But anytime you have a defense of this caliber and a defensive mind in Mike Zimmer, who has been so consistently excellent, you kind of can mark yourself down for being right there in the race. And that's kind of where I think they'll be.
All right, flipping over to baseball, the Twins split with the Oakland A's.
What's that? Football?
No, baseball. Okay, so there was this team that in your childhood I know you liked. You have to think back here.
Okay.
In the 90s, they were really good. Early 2000s, they were really good. The New York Yankees. They
okay.
Were
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They were pinstripes. They're coming to town tonight,
Jorge
actually.
Posada played
Jorge
for them.
Posada, yeah. Mariano Rivera, you remember him?
Hall of Fame.
He was put in the Hall of Fame yesterday.
He was.
Derek Jeter, overrated
right.
shortstop. He played for them. Alex Rodriguez.
Okay, so here's the thing about Derek Jeter with the overrated.
Okay, here we go.
So I've never liked the Yankees in any form of adulthood, right?
Sure.
So as a kid, I would listen to them on the radio because I grew up in the state of New York.
Our resident New Yorker here to talk Yankees.
Sort of. Western New York, which is very different from New York City, but no one cares about that. Those teams were fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this about Derek Jeter. As much as he's a terrible owner of the Miami Marlins.
Horrendous.
And
still time to win that Christian Yelich trade, don't worry.
And there's a lot to criticize about his defense as a shortstop.
Awful.
For sure. But if you are ranking the all-time shortstops, there are very few who can hit .315 over a career.
Terrific hitter.
And
he gets lauded for a lot of things that he wasn't very good at.
The Gold Gloves.
Like he should have been he should have to give back all of his Gold Gloves.
Absolutely. Give them to Omar Vizquel.
Yes, or anyone else, because he quite literally is the worst shortstop to be allowed to just continue to play shortstop forever.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
And if he were a better teammate, he would have let A-Rod play shortstop because A-Rod was the better shortstop.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is that the captain, the leadership, all that stuff, he was really just boring to me. I mean, he was kind of like an uninteresting figure who was always sort of the perfect guy in front of the media and everything else, and you never really got to know or care about him beyond that. I just think when you're talking about the actual player, he was totally deserving of being a superstar in that era.
Sure.
For how great he was as a hitter.
But
even if he was not the greatest fielder, you're still talking about it being worth way more to have a shortstop hit like that.
He's a fraud. However, terrific dating track record. I'll say that. One of the best ever.
Well,
but anyways, the Yankees
I'm sure he's a hero for you.
The Yankees are coming to town. This is a really big series for the Twins. Seth, what did you say their record was against the Yankees?
It's extremely bad.
I think it's like 36-97.
It's astoundingly awful.
So what's going to happen here? Because the division lead's only at 3. The Cleveland Indians don't look like they're slowing down anytime soon.
if you were making right there, if you were making a clever Bob Costas Yankees Orioles 1996 reference, that would have been amazing. What happens here? Does anybody know that call? No, you weren't alive.
What happens here?
You were
I was alive.
barely. How old were you in 96?
96 playoffs?
Yeah.
I was born in 93 of August of 93,
Okay.
so, you know. Do the math.
So here I'll tell you a little tale about the Yankees, since everything always goes their way because they're the Yankees.
Always.
Jeter hit a home run to right field. You've heard of this, right? And Tony Tarasco probably would have been able to catch it, but the kid, Jeffrey Mayer, leans over, he brings it in, and Bob Costas says, "And what happens here?" And
What happens
I
here?
thought that would have been really clever if that was your reference.
And then they won the World Series.
And they did. They did. Thanks to Jim Leyritz hitting a home run off of Mark Wohlers.
Yes,
Anyway,
names.
I think I think the Yankees are a pretty damn tough matchup for this team right now. I mean, after watching a little bit of their series with Colorado, and Colorado can't pitch for anything, and seeing what they've done offensively with a healthy roster, that is a World Series lineup.
Absolutely.
The Yankees.
They're a bunch of savages in that batter's box.
That's right. But that's really true, though. I think what Aaron Boone is trying to say is that they have incredible control of the plate. And this is why, I don't know if Kyle Gibson is lined up to pitch against them, but Kyle Gibson could have a really tough time because he doesn't throw strikes a lot.
Sure.
And if you do throw them strikes, you have so much power in that lineup, and someone like Gary Sanchez and Aaron Judge, I mean, these guys are terrifying. These guys can hit 50 bombs at any time. And even though the Twins still have the best lineup in baseball, I think the Yankees have the best lineup in baseball.
Yeah.
That the Twins have the best stats with runs scored and home runs, but the Yankees were not healthy for a really long time. Right now, they have the most dangerous lineup. And my question is, when you get to the seventh inning, what's going to happen?
Bad things if you're a Twins fan.
Bad
things are going to happen. That's where you're at.
I mean, in terms of your entertainment value, though, not everything turns out the way you expected, but every game could be 9-8 with these two teams,
Sure.
the way that they're both batting. But
although the Yankees seem to have a little better of a bullpen, so if
yeah,
it is
they do.
later in the game, you're going to be more confident in the Bronx Bombers coming through with a win.
I wouldn't ever want to look at a 3-game series and say, like, oh, this is a test or whatever else. Because I think we know what the problems are.
Sure.
We know that the Twins need a better bullpen, that they could use one more starting pitcher. Marcus Stroman is supposedly on their radar. I've always really liked Stroman. I think he's a great competitor and a guy that I would want in October. So right now, I don't think you're quite equipped. You could take 2 out of 3. They could sweep because it's baseball, and that happens. Colorado beat the Yankees the other day. But I don't look at this as really a test. I think we know what the issues are to beat the Yankees in October, and this one is, hey, go to the ballpark, right? Have a good time, because these two teams are going to be fun to watch for 3 days here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going tonight. Can't wait to watch CC Sabathia pitch for the last time in Target Field.
CC Sabathia, man.
CC Sabathia, what a champion. True champion CC is. But Matthew, thank you for doing this. You can find his Vikings 53-man roster projection on ScoreNorth.com. Training camp starts today. Football, cluster fun back tomorrow.
Holding
That's
the football.
Matthew. I'm Danny.
As
We'll
a holder,
see you later.
long snapping the football.